Okay. Peace and grand rising to the sovereign, original, indigenous, natural, divine heirs. Today is June the 2nd, 1443 on the ancient moon calendar, 1442 on the ancient sun calendar, and 2022 on the Greco-Roman calendar. All rise and stand. All subjects do hereby rise and stand and remain standing into perpetuity. This is a sovereign, living, ancient Al-Moroccan, Moorish American, court action, Article 3, ego sum, governing justice, Pauline Denise Ritchie, in capitis diminution nullo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. My free chosen sovereign appellation is like to Jure Bay, in capitis diminution nullo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. We are the sovereign living justice, in capitis diminution nullo, in red ink, in propria persona sui juris, in proprio solo, and in proprio heredes. All Moors are the original indigenous sovereign ancient Al-Moroccan, Moorish American ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet and of the ancient Moabites and Canaanites. Our full faith, trust, allegiance, credit, and energy are hereby vested in ourselves, for we are the people who are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government. We are the ancient empire state of Morocco. We are the universal Moorish American consulate and the Article 3 universal Moorish American consulate court. We are peace. We are one nation. We are one state. We are one empire, and we are one God. We hereby accept our sovereign ascension and exercise all sovereign rights at this time and at all points in time not so time. This quo warranto mandamus restitutio consular court action, the cause of action number is 1A0250975. It is final justice and verdict with a restitution announcement and proclamation, with Washington as the plaintiff versus City of Federal Way Corporation, Ben Singh, Jim Farrell, Andy Fong, all subjects on our sovereign land. No United States Corporation Company citizen, nor their agents, principals, heirs, assigns, nor any derivatives thereof has personam jurisdiction over me, nor over any of the sovereign Moorish nobility at birth. This universal sovereign lawful cause of action is manifested by the original indigenous sovereign natural divine people who are the de jure Moorish National Republic federal government, the de jure Moorish American consulate, and the de jure sovereign universal Article 3 Moorish American Al-Moroccan consular court. The universal natural area code for this sovereign court is 4F3WB QVKV5. This cause of action's sovereign alphanumeric identifier is MACW CAUSE 1A0250975, which is also noticed to appear to the named subjects for final justice from this court. The people have spoken. Islam. This video conferencing platform is recording 45 witnesses present, and all who view this sovereign consular court action on the public record are witnesses as well. This audio and video platform does not in any way diminish the sovereign authority, universal power, nor the ancestral efficacy of the commands by this court, nor our consulate, nor our sovereign Moorish American government. If you could, in the notes in the chat, let me know if you can see the document on the screen. Okay, great, thank you. Lawful notification for this court action was given to the said subjects by way of moorishe government postmaster general hand delivery. 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, verse 5, states that, now also, if anyone competes, he is not crowned unless he shall have competed lawfully. We have hereby manifested lawfully and proclaim our sovereignty over our own vast estate. We, the justices of the Moorishe American Consular Court, do hereby exercise our sovereign executorship over and in the favor of all land, all natural resources, and all commerce. It is in the favor of all Moors, and all Moors are sovereign over the vast estate and over all subjects since time immemorial into perpetuity. This cause of action is hereby placed on the public record for the record and letting the record show that the subjects are hereby called forth at this time, and each of you are commanded to hear the proclamation that is being put forth on the public record. You, let's see, no questions will be answered by this sovereign court unless we will to answer your questions. However, it is not necessary for you to speak at this time. The subjects that this court is hereby notifying are Ben Singh, Andy Huang, James Farrell. Are any of these subjects whose names have been called present at this time? If you are present, you can star 6 to unmute and state your name and your citizenship status on the public record. Islam. So we want to put on the screen we want to put a different document here on the screen so that we can make it clear what we are proclaiming at this time. So just one moment, we'll put it on the screen. Okay. Okay, if you could in the chat let me know if you can see the document on the screen. Islam, thank you. Okay. So to the following subjects, you have been notified of the justice that this court has placed on the public record as follows. Washington is the plaintiff versus City of Federal Way Corporation. We gave our verdict. The verdict is $100 million to the people of Washington. Ben Singh, Jim Farrell, Andy Huang, $10,000 each in lawful money, of course, as we do not deal in fiat. Our courts are gold backed. With regard to the City of Federal Way Corporation, we will be sending documentation to you over the next few days so that conveyance of said lawful restitution to the people who are Washington land will be sent to you, which is in addition to the laws that you have already previously received, to include the Washington Constitution and the King County Charter. With regard to the individual subjects, your debts are hereby forgiven, the $10,000 for each one of you, pending your subject status. And in fact, that's not an option for you. You already are in subject status, and thereby your debts are forgiven. We do not debt our subjects. Islam. Sumus de sanctimunum, sumus de sanctimunum, sumus de sanctimunum. We are the Holy One. Nous vivons. We live. Amendigo vobis, que cum que sumus veritas superterum erunt ligata et in quello. Et que cum que sumus sol veritas superterum erunt soluto et in quello. Whatsoever we bind on earth is bound in heaven, and whatsoever we set free on earth is set free in heaven. With the completion of this sovereign Moorish American Consular Court action, we, the heirs, do hereby peacefully tribute to the ancient Washington land, District 4, Queen Columbia, as stated. This sovereign Moorish American Al-Moroccan Article 3 Consular Court action is hereby complete. Peace and grand rising to the ascended Moorish American nobility, and grand rising to all of risen humanity. Islam. And if we have any witnesses who would like to go on the record as a witness, state your appellation, and an Islam will suffice for the record. Islam.
Konsulate, Islam.
Rose L., California Territory, Islam.
Angelica Yvette Dobbs Bay, Swampamack, and Mohawk-a-Choctaw Providence, Islam.
Justice Cynthia Ande, Califia Territory, Islam.
Mugusa Shaka Allah Bay, Swampamack Province, Islam.
Carolyn Linda Wiggins, Eel, Islam.
Empress Aisha L. Bay, Michigan Territory, Islam.
Morpheus Calhoun Freeman L., Maryland, Islam.
Akil Kadimba Easley L., Philadelphia Territory, Islam.
Tanzania Al Kiama El Bay, Swampamack Province, Islam.
Wazir Katalibat Bilfa L., Khalifa Territory, Islam.
Sheikh Al Khan Bay, Kinaland, Islam.
Musa Jubei, Memphis, Tennessee Territory, Islam.
Brother Smith Bay, Pennsylvania Territory, Islam.
Vanya L., Massachusetts Territory, Islam.
Islam. Peace and grand rising, Justice Light to Jury Bay, Washington Territory, Islam. The people have spoken. Islam. So from this point, we will go into our subject matter. So let me put our subject matter on the screen and remove my judge's robe.
Islam.
Islam Empress.
My aunt Crew had her by Inchu ill. Islam.
Islam. Thank you, Empress. We're so glad you're here.
Karima Bay, Virginia Beach, Virginia Territory, Islam.
Thank you, Empress. We're glad you're here. And to the Moors in the chat.
Alabama Territory, Islam.
Thank you, nobility. Alabama Territory is in the house, Islam. Thank you so much.
Islam on Seall, Detroit Territory. Islam.
Islam. Thank you, Nobility. We're glad you're here, of course. And the Moors in the chat, we're so glad you're here. Thank you for your Islam and your unity. Islam. Listen, no one thought we could unify, but we've done it. We've done it. No one thought we could get our courts up, but we've done it. So let's keep going. Let's keep going. Oh, I wanted to say that Moors in your territory, if there is even, and they don't have to be in your territory, but just if you can pair with 2 or 3 other Moors and govern your, whatever it is you have going on, your court actions, govern those together the same way that we do here. You only need 2 or 3 Moors, because it's 2 or 3 witnesses. Out of the mouths of 2 or 3 witnesses, let every word be established. And record, get onto one of these, free conference call, YouTube, somewhere, and do a court action and put it on the public record with regard to any issues that you have going on, because your court should be ruling on things like if some corporation is trying to get you to accept their fraudulent person and be a corpse, then you all should be ruling on that. Using the fiduciary document so that a natural living person is put there. It's a good idea to do that. And if you can't think of anyone, go out onto social media, and this is just some things that we have done in the past. We've gone out onto social media when we had a court action, and we just put it on social media and invite whoever wants to come. And if even 1 or 2 more showed up, we did the court action with just 1 or 2 witnesses, and that was enough. That's enough, because that's all you need according to the law. So, I do have somewhat of a warning that the ancestors wanted me to put on the record. I don't normally do warnings because it sounds so scary, and nothing can really, there's nothing scary for us. Everything, we have nothing to be afraid of ever. So it's not really even a warning, but it kind of is. They put it in that tone. So,
caveat enter.
Yeah, something like that. It's that. That's a good way to put it. That's a good way to put it. Caveat emptor. So here's what they wanted me to say. I'm just going to read it the way they gave it to me, because I wrote it on I put it on this. And I think my screen is doing a little something. Oh, never mind. I got it. Here it is. Okay. So the warning is this. Your tests are not about other people. Okay? So whenever something happens, if you feel the need to get upset or angry with other people, just know that that's not why the test was sent to you. Okay? So what they wanted me to state is this. We cannot go to war, nor have the intention of warring with our brothers and sisters over fiat issues. Okay? We cannot do that. Our ancestors are not going to allow that to be the case. And this is being put on the public record now just so that no one can say they didn't know that we can't do that. And this is what I mean by going to war with our brothers and sisters over fiat issues. There have been times where Moors would make a contract with another Moor for a service or a product. And they would give them fiat for that service or product. And whenever something didn't go right, whether it be in the shipping of the product or in the quality of the product or in the, something that had to do with the product, the Moor who spent the fiat would go out on social media and go to war and badmouth the other Moor and demand their fiat back and all of that. The ancestors are saying, don't do that. Do not go to war with your brothers and sisters over fiat issues. Why is that? Because, see, even when we have tried to offer some insight when asked, or if the issue was brought to us, because they've been brought to us about other Moors, people wanting us to talk to other Moors about fiat contracts. And when the fiat contract is made, both parties are essentially breaking the law, because the Constitution states that we're not to do that. Now, if that's all, I can't even say if that's all you have, because that's not all we have. We have our own money too, and Moors have gold and silver. Some have been getting silver from different places, and some have been getting gold from different places. We have to start using lawful money, or use dollarium. Or exchange services. You do for them and they do for you. We have to stop warring if something doesn't go right with a fiat contract. We can't war with our brothers and sisters because we're not even supposed to be using that stuff. And listen, it's not about quote unquote dirty Moors. It's about the energy is corrupted and tainted when you bring fiat energy into your exchanges with one another. And if you can't do it lawfully, you might want to wait to do it. Now, our banks are manifesting. We know that. That's a given. It's a given. We have to be honorable before anything else. So whenever I see more saying, well, they told me, they said they were going to do it, and I didn't, and they charged me 5,000, la 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 la, or 2,000 this and 100 that, and I've seen Moors go to war over 25 notes, Federal Reserve debt notes, all out on social media, just no nobility in sight. We cannot keep doing that. If you want your exchanges to go well, do them lawfully, period. If you want your exchanges to go well, do them lawfully. That's what the ancestors are saying about that, and about how we as the heirs are supposed to be the example for everyone else in terms of commerce and how to do commerce. If you have something or you see something that someone else wants, maybe a service, or give them some of your energy in some way to get whatever it is that you need. And speaking of that, speaking of energy and things like that, we just have to make sure that we don't go to war with each other. I'll just put it that way and just leave it at that. Because there's some it's creating some karma and some energy that you do not want to come back to you. Because see, Moors, if we can hold other Moors accountable where fiat is concerned, then those who print the fiat can hold us accountable for that fiat debt. And it's ones that they make up out of nowhere because they can put it on their corpse anytime. You see what I'm saying? And so when the Biblios Heliotext says, forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors, that's really where that comes from. Is we cannot hold, where fiat is concerned, we cannot hold other Moors and then go to war like that. If you do a fiat contract with other Moors, you get whatever energy comes that way. I mean, we've seen Moors talk around that fiat piece. We've seen them talk around it. Okay, we're not judging. We just point to the law. The Constitution says this, and we're supposed to be enforcing the Constitution. We have to enforce it, period. So that's why we don't accept fiat for anything. And sometimes people have wanted to donate fiat and say, you work so hard, I just want to, no, we won't take that. We honor the energy of wanting to give, but not that. If anything, if you're going to use that, take it and get you more supplies and get you some things that you need in order to continue to free yourself from fiat. So I won't go any further with that piece, but that's just something that the ancestors said. Put out there to tell them to stop warring with each other over fiat contracts when they're not supposed to be making them. Because the ones who've been doing that have felt like they're justified because they paid someone, quote unquote, supposedly paid someone to do something, and they feel justified if they don't get their whatever they service or good or whatever. You can't feel justified about that because it's against the Constitution.
No, that's like
yeah. Go ahead. I can't hear you, Nobility. Speak up just a little bit. Yeah. So, I'll leave that where it is. I'll just say, do your best not to go into those contracts with your brothers and sisters, so that don't create the obligation and that energy won't be there. Okay. Secondly, we have another national fast coming up. Our full moon fast is going to be June 13th, 14th, and 15th of this month. We're asking as many as can who will unify with us and fast in any way you're led to fast. If you're led to fast and just drink water for 3 days, then do that. If you're led to fast from sun up to sundown and just drink water, then do that. Or just do a juice fast, or fast from negative energy, or fast from something that you do that has more control over you than you would like for it to have. Nothing is supposed to be in control or over the Moors, and that's the purpose of fasting, really, is to assert our jurisdiction over even our own bodies and everything. Is that our bodies cannot tell us what to do. Our bodies have to do what we tell them to do. Food can't tell us what to do. Nothing can tell us what to do. We self-law, am master. And that's what fasting is about, is discipline among the heirs and among the nobility. We're going to need it because the ancestors have been showing us here lately that, You can have stuff falling out of your cabinets and your refrigerator by having such an abundance. But there's no way that you can consume all of that. There's no way that you can consume all of that and stay healthy unless you picked it all from the ground yourself. So discipline is going to be the key to long life. We live a long time when we're disciplined. And discipline is not something you get overnight. It happens over time. Take it from me. It happens over time. Some days it's French fries because I like French fries. Some days it's baked potatoes because I like, but it can't be every day. And this is only as we're transitioning to producing our own natural foods. Because, see, when we produce our own natural foods, we can eat all we want to eat because it's working with our bodies instead of against our bodies. And so in the interim, natural sea salts and things like that are what's working to keep us alkaline and to keep our bodies healthy as we make this transition. And I will say this about the fasting and the natural sea salt, not the kind you buy in the store. That's not natural. The kind that's going to be natural is the kind we produce. So we're moving now into production on our land, full-scale production, okay? We're moving into that. If you'll look at my social media page on Facebook, the last few days I've been going out into the territory, pulling the natural resources and showing these natural resources, okay? And we all have access to the land. We all do. It's all of the territories belong to the Moors, and particularly Moors, the ones that have put the constitutions on the public record and the county charters. And when we put them on the public record, we just go out onto the internet. We pull the corporate charter and the corporate constitution, and then we say, okay, we're going to take this and copy and paste it onto our letterhead in blue ink in all lowercase letters, and then we're going to go through it and pull out anything that does not agree with our spirit for the Moors. And then we autograph it, write red thumbprint, put it on the public record, and then send a copy to the government at gmail.com. And government has an E on the end. So it's THEGOVERNMENTE at gmail.com. So that we can get these constitutions, and we're going to have it where you can look and see all the constitutions in one place, okay? And that way, anyone in the territories can be pointed to that place, and they can pull the constitutions up for their territory and download it and put it on the public record also. Okay, and it's also a way for those who are in the territories to see who else is in the territories and who's put the Constitution on the public record. And then you can connect and you can do court actions with them. And you all can provide remedy. Okay. Islam. Yes, in the chat, Justice Akil says he actually did the pine cone tea. Our territories have so many resources. For example, a couple of the resources that we have in this territory, and you all have them in your territories too, you just have to go out and locate them, is oil. Oil. And that's different grades of oil depending on how the oil is processed. So some of we have whatever it takes to process the oil that you use for conveyances. We have what it takes to process the oil that you would use in beauty products, which is really kind of almost the same for us. It's natural oils. Those same natural oils our ancestors took in small amounts, they consumed it. And some people call it oil pulling, where they rinse their mouth out with oil and things like that. We have oil here in this territory, and it's everywhere. You can literally walk up to where for example, the tar sand, or where the shale is. Shale is what you make oil with. Tar sands is what you make oil with. And we have it everywhere. So I put a lot of those, and then I also put a lot of the plants and things like that that are here that we can eat and use as medicine and tea and things like that on the public record on my social media page at Light to Jure Bay page on Facebook. And it's photos and all of that, and what we can do with those. And then, of course, everyone knows about the sea salt, that we go out to the sea about 4 minutes away from here. We bring the water back, and then we boil it down to salt, and we use that natural salt. And they call it salt, but it's really minerals that taste salty. And you're talking about alkaline bodies and clear skin and all of that. I used to wear makeup when I was on here. I don't even wear the foundation anymore. I don't even wear it. I don't have to. I don't have to wear it because the sea salt and the minerals and it happens over time, okay, over time. If you take sea salt once a day for 2 months, over time, it's going to pull out the things in your body that are not natural, that shouldn't be in there. And it's going to put in some things that you didn't even know you were missing. And that affects the way we eat, because as I've been taking the sea salt, I didn't realize that the cravings that I had for food, it goes away when I take the sea salt. Because our bodies were trying to make up for the minerals that we lack. And so it would crave certain things. And that contributes to our health. Okay. So from this point forward, let's shift gears just a little bit. With regard to the strategies that we have put on the public record that we're using, and some people say, well, if you put the strategy on the public record, everybody's going to know what you're doing, and they'll be able to. They can't do anything with our strategy. Our courts, they can't. Subjects and corpses cannot rebut our courts properly. Subjects won't try to rebut our courts. They actually work with our courts. Corpses, they go to jail by our courts. So from this point forward, you know, putting our strategies on the public record is it's almost like saying a train is coming. Well, nobody's going to jump on the tracks and try and stop the train just because they know it's coming. It's still a train, it's still coming. And that's the way our grand rising is. It's coming no matter what. It's here already. And no, it's unstoppable. No one can stop this. So from this point forward, our strategy, no matter what, we're going to exponentially do lean and be doubling up on sending out Delarium and creating our merchant cards and things like that. I will say this about the merchant cards even. The ancestors have pointed some things out to me about where we're going next with regard to all that has to do with commerce. And it's going to require that I do a demonstration. And so as I do the demonstration that I'm going to do over the next few weeks, first, please send me some positive energy, some of that strength, love energy, because the demonstration is going to get done. I'm going to do it. And as we do the demonstration, we know that the ancestors will do all that they should do. They have promised us that they will do what they said they would do. And we're going to keep our word also. So we'll talk a little bit more about the demonstration after it's done, as usual. So we're going to be doubling up with regard to all that we're doing. Time is accelerating, okay? We are already at the promised land, Lord. The promised land is already here. It's already here. We don't have to cross over here and go over here and go over there. It's already here. We just have to continue to demonstrate together. Genesis 47 and 14 describes what we have done with our liens and what we're doing right now. Genesis 47:14 says, Joseph collected all the money to be found in the land of Egypt and the land of Canaan in exchange for the grain they were buying, and he brought it into Pharaoh's palace. After he collected all the money, everything dropped in price to near nothing. This will happen in the coming months. How do you think that Joseph was able to collect all the money to be found in Egypt and Canaan? He did it by leaning everything and everyone. That's how he did it. He placed a sovereign lien on everything moving between, and he really started just like we did. Start at the top, at the head of that corporate structure, and lean everything all the way down. He didn't do it by himself. He had some help, just like we've been assisting each other with that process. And so now you can see, you know, that those who were pushing up all of that fiat around are not doing that. Not nearly. Nowhere near. And especially with regard to those that were previously doing business with corporations. So, leaning is ancient. That's not new. It's ancient. Our liens have gathered up all the money to be found. And when we say found, if you'll remember, when the foreigners came here, they called themselves founding fathers. Okay, we are the founding heirs. So all they did was look, find things and claim it, find things and claim it, find things and capitalize it. And so we've done the same thing. We did what we were supposed to do. I was going to say played by the same rules, but it's not even close, because we've done far more together. So what we are currently engaged in is deconstruction, so that we can rebuild using our own systems: judicial, financial, erudition, legislative, etc., executive, etc., and strategy. A list of credits that we can add to our merchant card are just a little bit. We can add liens to our merchant cards, and again, everyone, that's $100 million right there, because you have a lien that's worth $100 million. And even if you've never done a lien, the lien that we did on the United States Corporation Company gives everyone $100 million on their merchant card. Okay, all the more, you know, wages, salaries, all fiat transactions. See below at worthless securities. When we say that, we're not saying put any fiat transactions on your merchant card, because they can't go on there. Fiat transactions cannot go on a merchant card. Merchant cards are for lawful money only. But what you do is you go back and you lien everything And when you lien the nom de jure and the social security number, anything that was coming in using those conveyance methods can then be, there can be a reversion of estate done on it. In other words, lawful credits can be issued to you by you onto your merchant card. And then we showed you how we did lawsuits, quote unquote, and cases, quote unquote. And then it says loan amounts that have been properly liened and stated by sovereign fiduciary. And let's make it clear that we do not claim debt. Okay, that's not what we're doing. We're not claiming debt. We're liening all of that and liening all fiat and all of that. And then we're putting gold and silver lawful liens onto our merchant card. And then here where it says wages, salaries, all fiat transactions, see below. This is where we can see that these are the IRS, just one moment, let me make sure that I'm quoting this properly. Yeah, these are the IRS codes. And this is code 1.165-5 at worthless security. Definition of security. As used in section 165G and this section, the term security means a share of stock in a corporation. Number two, and this is what we're looking at, it is a right to subscribe for or to receive a share of stock in a corporation. Well, we don't do corpses. We don't do dead corpses. What we do is living natural persons in all capital letters, which is a corpus sanctum. It says here, wages, capital loss. If any security which is a capital asset becomes wholly worthless, and this is where reversion, this is reversion of estate in writing. This is where fiat is totally worthless, so what do we do about it? Okay. It's and that's why they're calling it capital loss, because it's a loss taken by anything in capital letters. That's what capital is. That's how capital is noted. If any security, which is a capital, let me make sure you can see this on the screen too. Just one moment. Yes, okay, good. You can see it. Let me make this a little bigger also. It's a capital loss. If any security, which is a capital asset, becomes wholly worthless at any time during the taxable year, the loss resulting therefrom may be deducted under Section 165A, but only as though it were a loss from a sale or exchange. What they're saying is, we're not claiming the debt. It's as if it were a loss, because they know that we don't claim that. What we do is we do a reversion of estate on the numbers that we see. So if the loss or the fiat, let's say college tuition, student loans, that's a worthless security, and it's lost. We know that it's worthless security because it doesn't guarantee anything. It doesn't guarantee a job. It doesn't guarantee security for your family. That's what makes it worthless security, really. But if the loan was, let's say, $40,000 in student loan, quote unquote, debt, well, we lien all of that. We lien that, and then what we do is we bring whatever the sequence of numbers in the amount is, which would be 40,000. We have our courts put our own capital there, okay? And when I say our courts are putting our capital there, we're taking our all caps that we're the fiduciary of and putting that in and then asserting our nationality with it and saying, okay, because of the nationality of our natural person, which is naturalized, our natural person is a naturalized instrument. The all caps is a naturalized instrument, and because of that, it's naturalized lawfully where we're concerned, and because we're the fiduciary, that $40,000 then becomes a credit to us. So if you want to add this to your paperwork, this is again 1.165-5, worthless securities in the IRS manual. I believe that's the IRS manual. If someone could look that up just to be sure. And it says here, such security becomes wholly worthless. All this is saying is anything that's ever been issued under a court, a capital court, it's a worthless security. It's a capital loss. Okay? And then it says the fact that the security is in fact a capital asset of the taxpayer is immaterial for this purpose. We know that we're not taxed. That's why we have to bring it into our court. That those things are governed by our court. So because we're not taxed, our natural person is not taxed. And that is another reason why we don't use fiat. Because then fiat can be taxed, as you can see. Fiat can be taxed. So here it says right here at the bottom, a debt which becomes wholly worthless during the taxable year shall be as an ordinary loss. In other words, they knew we've been taking losses the whole time, acting out taking losses the whole time because of debt. This is where the actors doing business as Donald Trump and Bill Gates and all of them, the corpses and corporations, this is what they use to get out of paying taxes. They know that what they're requiring of those citizens is worthless. They know the fiat is worthless. It's a worthless security. But they will throw them in jail for debt and then turn right around and use this to say, no, we don't have any debt. And that's how they get away with that, or how they were getting away with that. Is when it comes to light bills and bail bonds and all of that stuff, that's why we don't do it. We don't participate in that stuff, in bail bonds and all of, we don't do it. What we do is, like we've been saying, lean everything moving. And the bail bonds companies know that their bail bonds are worthless securities too. So what do they have you do? They have you sign, because that's the real security, is your consent. That's the real security. Now, for those who may or may not be at that place, no one judges anyone. We're not judging anyone about anything, any demonstration that they do or don't do. We're not, because that's not what we do. We don't judge each other. We judge issues and processes on the land. So we all have to demonstrate at the level of our overstanding. And then we just love on each other in the process. That's it. We just keep loving each other all the way across the board. So this is what they use so that they turn around and say, we don't have any debt. And then we were again looking at debt and contracts because we've been talking about that. This universal, well, it's a uniform commercial code, but we can elevate it to the status of universal commercial code, which really kind of needed to happen because Moors use this. They quote this in their documents. It says a document in due form purporting to be a bill of lading, policy or certificate of insurance, official weighers or inspector certificate, consular invoice. And this is specifically why we need to elevate this to the law. Because right now it's just a uniform commercial code or statute until we say, okay, this is the law. Okay. I brought this one up due to the authentication piece where people talk about authenticating things and authenticating this and authenticating that and having someone doing business as a Secretary of State to authenticate their birth certificate. That is not suggestible because it's really not lawful to have corpses or subjects authenticating because they don't have the authority to authenticate. In order to authenticate something, the authenticator must be authentic or real. So when they talk about consular invoices or any other document authorized or required by the contract, and this is where when you get, when Moors in error take their documents to someone who's doing business as a Secretary of State, and they say, authenticate this, and those people sign, you've just contracted with a corpse. You don't want to do that. It says contract right here. It doesn't say affidavit. It doesn't say writ. It says contract. Okay. A document in due form purporting to be a bill of lading, policy or certificate of insurance, official weighers or inspector certificate, consular invoice, or any other document authorized or required by the contract to be issued by a third party is prima facie evidence of its own authenticity and genuineness and of the facts stated in the document by the third party. This is what notaries have been using. But again, what are they authenticating and saying is genuine? They're really saying that a contract between an heir and a corpse, this is what they're saying. They're saying you agree to be a corpse. And they'll stamp that. They're okay with you agreeing to be a corpse. Because you don't know that those people don't have the authority to authenticate your document. If you feel you must get someone to authenticate, get a Moorish Secretary for Sovereign State to do it. And Moors, those are all stamps and seals and things that we're going to be putting together over the next few months and years. We have a lot of work to do because Moorish treasurers, Moorish clerks, Moorish, all of that. Those need to be, we have to bring that forth. Now, I'll say this like I was stating before the recording started. This is why we, those who are willing to do so, are going to be taking our Moorish documents. We're never going to fill out anyone's job application. Let's make that clear. Never going to fill out their job application. It's their application. Let them fill it out. Okay? What we're doing is taking our affidavit and letting our affidavit speak where employment is concerned. And we're going to go into positions where we can be authenticating documents and things like that, so that when the new Moors that are coming come, they're meeting Moors who will be authenticating their documents as Secretary for Sovereign State. What does that mean? That means that Moors, we have to prepare to run for offices among our nation as Secretary for Sovereign State. And again, we have shown you where in 1 Timothy, the 2nd chapter, verse 5, it says that if we're to get the crown, we have to follow the rules, basically. And we're not following rules because we made them, but we have to speak by our own sovereign affidavits. We cannot go into their system because their system has a bunch of war rants and a bunch of crap in it that does not apply to us. That's a court system. The system that's here now is our system. So we're preparing to continue to take full control of our system so that when the new onslaught of millions and millions of Moors come, they come with affidavits and government documents, and they come to other Moors who have the authority to authenticate and call something genuine. Is that going to be a little different from what people think? Yes, it's going to look differently. How is it going to look differently? Let's say, for example, the foreigners have 3 warrants out on their courts, not you, their courts. When you properly and competently state who you are, you must be a sovereign state, and again, that's where those constitutions and charters come in at. Then, wherever you are, you're a state within the Empire State. The Empire State is earthwide, and in alignment with the Empire State is Washington, which we did the court action on with tonight in favor of. But that's in favor of the people, the Moors. So if their court has 3 warrants out there, then that doesn't stop the Moors from doing anything we want to do. It doesn't stop us from doing anything because we properly stated that that's not us. Then we put our fiduciary documents on the public record, and we say, no, we don't accept your person. We have our own natural person, not your dead person. That's in the Biblios Heliotext too. We talked about that not too long ago. In fact, let me bring that one up really quickly so that you can see what they have been doing, knowing that all we had to do was say we don't accept your person, and then create our own, because you can't just say you don't accept the person, their person, and their person being the all-cap name, nom de guerre war name. We don't accept that. We have our own natural living person, all caps, that we are the fiduciaries of. So Job, the 32nd chapter, verse 21, is the legal code book. Job 32:21. It says, don't accept any man's person, nor give them any flattering titles. And I don't necessarily, I'm not going to put that on the screen, but you can look that up. Okay? We actually have to take the resources on the land and use them. And they come by knowing the rules. And we know the rules. We're doing them. We're doing all of this already. We know everything already, Moors. That's what all of this knowledge on this call alone, we have enough information between all of us on this call to dominate the land, not people, because we don't dominate people, we dominate the land and the resources. So we have everything we need. We just need to keep moving forward and prepare to go to take the land, to take it. It's already ours. We're already on it. Now we just have to take that step and take the land. What does that look like? Whatever your expertise is, there is a place for you on the land. On the land, not in a court, on the land. So, for example, Moors need to be campaigning, because you're not really running. Campaign for governor. Campaign for secretary for sovereign state. And it's going to look like the previous. It's going to look similar to that, but ours looks different because it's us. We'll be turbans and fezzes. Okay? That is how we continue to access further the estate for everyone. Okay? Where we are now, our documents speak for us. We have everything we need in our documents to speak for us and to keep us in our sovereign jurisdiction and never go into a dead jurisdiction. Never. Okay? So where authenticity and genuineness, whenever they put things like this on paper, it is expected that we're going to change it when we see it, because we know, again, they're not authentic, so they can't authenticate anything by us. We authenticate our own stuff. Yes, Job 32:21 and 22. 21 and 22. We accept no man's person, nor give flattering titles. That means don't call them judge, don't call them any of that. Because if you call them that, you're breaking the law, and they know it. And see, for them, if the sovereigns call them something like clerk or judge, to them, you don't know the Bible, and you're going against their religion that we gave them. We said we're not going to call you anything like that. You're a custodian, a subject, period. We said that. And to them, that's the law. Job 32:21 and 22 is the law for them. And so what do we do with that? We do the same thing with that we do with the Constitution. We say, no, we're not going to call you any of that, because the Bible says that we're not going to call you any of that. We gave you the Bible for you to be who you're supposed to be on the land. We wrote it. The Holy Sibyls wrote the Bible, and we said this is for our subjects. And we put that on them. Our prophet said we was going to do it. He said, don't throw out your Bibles, because you're going to use it to judge them. And while we're judging them, now that we know that they're not judges, they're not clerks, they're not any of that, Someone has to do that in order for the Moors that are waking up now, because there's millions and millions and millions and millions of Moors, and they're on a timer. They don't know it yet, but they will. They're on a timer, and that timer says that in 2022 and 2023 and 2024 and 2025, that by the time that they're going to wake up at those times, and when they wake up at those times, they're going to be seeing our faces, authenticating and calling things genuine and ruling and reigning on the land. Everything is already ours. We just cannot accept the person of a man because we're the gods. The gods cannot accept the person of a man. And a person is an all-cap name. We create our own. I, self-law, am master. That's all of us. So we create our own to use it to do what we need to do, to move things around and get things going. Now, in order to do that, termination of corporate contracts. Okay, where termination of corporate contracts is concerned, acceptance of any part of any commercial unit is acceptance of that entire unit. That's why we have to terminate all corporate contracts, all of them, and then put our fiduciary document in place. So we're not accepting any man's title. We're not giving any man a title, and we're not accepting their person. We have our own, and then here, acceptance of any part of any commercial unit is acceptance of that entire unit. What does that mean? That means that any delarium that's been sent out by the Moors in quoting the Constitution is automatically accepted. Okay? So someone has asked the question, they put the 40 plus documents on the public record and on Scribd and Facebook. What is the next step? The next step is any issues that you have, whether it be a bill, a ticket, a fake court, any of that, begin to govern those by your own court. You're the court. So you need to, that fiduciary document says that you're going to put your natural person in the beneficiary slot of these actions. And then your court is going to rule on that. And then you're going to notify the state court that, hey, we got a ruling on this already. Using a quo warranto, a mandamus, a writ of restitutio, a writ of prohibitio, or any of those. Okay? Begin governing your own vast estate. Anything that you have going on, start with you first, and then you can assist your brothers and sisters. Make sure that you get an embosser. Okay, get yourself an embosser with the government seal on it. And those who are in other territories like the UK and Jamaica and all, we all use the same seals and stamps. So under this video, there will be a copy of the Moorish American seal and the consulate seal. Take that artwork and send it to any place that does embossers and tell them to make your seal. And some of them will say, oh, well, you know, the words are too close together. It's not going to come out right. Just tell them make it anyway. And get your embosser done. From any office products place, I think they run somewhere around 35 sovereign credit. between 35 and 50. But I'll tell you this, as we move into our place as the living holy corpus sanctum that we are, in terms of the offices that those are our offices. That's why we were saying custodian in the office of, because all of the offices belong to the Moors. As we move into those places, we won't have to worry about where we're going to get the things we need, because we'll be using appropriations the way we need to use appropriations to get what we need. Okay? And our treasury is already active, so that's where all of this comes from. Okay? I wouldn't be saying this if the ancestors hadn't put it all in our faces of what we need to do next. And that's why they said just call them custodians in your office, because you're going to go to those offices and do the work because it's your estate. But there were some things we had to get out of the way first, and then we had to put some things in place first. The fiduciary document, Moors, please overstand that document and please state it every chance you get. And with anything you send out, you're the fiduciary of. Now, let me say this too about where we're going next in terms of the estate and taking complete control. When we do our affidavits, our employment affidavits, we're employing ourselves first and foremost. So again, our affidavits are going to start with court action language. For example, let's say, for example, a resume. It's going to be in blue. It's going to be on, it may be on letterhead. I know our flag is going to be there somewhere. And I know that. And the fiduciary document is going to be with it. But I'll say this about that. When you do the something like a resume, because Moors have been asking about this also. When you do a resume, do it in common English. But that's after you have put all of your ancient English documents on the public record. See, those documents need to go first, so that there's no mistaking about who you are. And then you do a second set of just the fiduciary document and maybe a resume or whatever it is. And you're going to do all of that by court action. It has to be done by court action, because you're not going in as Joe the worker. You're going in as the heirs to the resource that you're governing. And see, they all know this already. They know this already. But we also have to be teachable going in. And when I say teachable, we're going to be exposed to codes and statutes, for example. Let's say, for example, if you're going in and you're going to be the director of whatever, building director, structure director, or whatever, you're going to have to learn the coding that goes with that. And you've seen some of that coding in our documents as well. Okay. But again, this is we're at a time right now where we have to really carefully stand, and when I say carefully, I mean make sure that we don't contract with them. They are subjects, and those are our resources. Okay, those resources belong to us, and we have to take them. We have to govern them, and I don't take is maybe not the right word. Govern is the right word, because they're already ours. We don't have to take anything from anyone. It's already our stuff. Justice Akil, that's a great question. Thank you for asking that. He said, how do we or the employer know that you're employing yourself now? You're already employing yourself. You don't You don't have an employer. You're the employer. And the way that we're, this is what we're doing with that. We're going to into the demonstration with it already laid out that we have our own money. And that, for example, you can be issued letters, and really they're not going to issue the letters either. You're going to issue the letter for credit. And when you issue the letter for credit, then that is something that you can take to the custodians in the office of the bank and have them to credit the account. Okay. Now, we're going in, setting up whatever needs to be set up so that we can actually bank. That's what we're going in for. And when I say in, we're not going in anywhere, because that would indicate that there's something outside of us, and there isn't. But they would issue, because see, again, it's a credit system that's in place for us. We're the creditors. And in order for everything that we do to not be taxed, we have to issue it. So we would issue an affidavit to them that says this is how many credits, because we will know going in how many credits we get. For example, if it's 35,000 credits per year, per annum. If it's 35,000 credits per year, then you will know that at the beginning of the month to issue an affidavit for credit that you've autographed, and then you would have a subject in, let's say, human resources or whatever. Now, that's where they can look at it and then stamp it or notarize it or whatever. Okay. In that case, knowing that they're doing it as custodians in the office of a notary because you've already done that. And then that, and you take that to the custodians in the office of the bank or send it via email or whatever the case may be. We have to take the time to get this part done. We have to take the time to get this part done. How we do it is going to be how we choose to do it. But we know what the rules are. We put the rules in place. Okay? So this is the part where we take our time and be as wise as a serpent and as harmless as a dove as we move through this process right here that we're moving through. So that our heirs and their heirs, when they go into the territory to get a domicile or something like that, that they see our faces issuing everything lawfully. That's the only way that the money system that we have in place, that's always been in place really, but that we have in place works, is if we're there issuing and governing. And we cannot have contracts with corpses in order to do that. We had to put the 40-plus documents on the public record. We had to. And so that now we can strategically move together so that, just like our prophet said, when the economy starts back up again, it's going to start back up in the favor of the Moors. We have to put it in our favor, and we've already done that. We have everything set up. Now we have to go in knowing that it's by our affidavit that we speak. We speak by affidavit where the job is concerned. We are the fiduciaries. And Moors, listen to me. I spoke with one Moor who They put the fiduciary document on the public record, but they didn't articulate the fiduciary document. They still thought that someone was hiring them when really that's not what was happening. So what happened? What happened was when they got to the quote-unquote interview, they were saying, the people were saying, well, there's something on your record that's there that we don't really know what it is, and just kind of, there's something on your record, so we're going to have to either postpone or not do the interview. Well, they knew that what was supposed to happen is, even if they sent something saying your interview is at 10 o'clock on Monday morning, that we're supposed to send a court action back saying you have court in same place, same time, Monday morning, 10 o'clock at XYZ location, along with the fiduciary document. And then when we get there, yes, adding numbers to the fiduciary document. So yes, you do a court action and say, okay, you have court on Monday at 10 o'clock at XYZ place. Well, when you show up, you're the one asking the questions because it's a court action. And then at the end of your court action, you can give them the opportunity to ask questions if they want to ask questions, but your documents say it all. And they should check the public record before they do anything. This we must do, Moors. We have to move this way now that we have successfully separated ourselves. Now it's time to take the land. And we're going to be talking more about that, because think about this. We know that we're the sheriff. We know that we're the police. We know that we're the law enforcement. How do we get the domiciles and the conveyances, and how do we get access to all of that? By having Moors who know these processes in those positions. And saying, if you're coming with citizen stuff, then it's different from when you're coming as the heirs. We have to. That's where we are right now. Is okay now that we've come out of their capitalism and we don't take their person, because we never were their person really. They were just modeling for us how persons are treated if things go right and if things go wrong. And they were showing us how much authority we have over persons. We needed to see that. How much authority we can throw a person in jail. We can, or we cannot throw a person in jail. And I prefer not to throw them in jail, because jails don't even need to be on our land, really. If anybody goes to jail, they need to be going off somewhere. Not here. This is a land of milk and honey. This is a land of plenty, abundance, peace, love, joy, and some awesome commerce and merchant stuff. Merchant things happening. Merchant action. So, someone put in the chat, Justice Konsu from the United Kingdom territory, put in the chat, I mentioned something about adding numbers to the fiduciary document, and he wanted some other follow-up information on that. So I'll just do here on the screen, I'll show you what that looks like. In fact, let me just pull up a fiduciary document. And let me pull up fiduciary document. and show you where on the fiduciary document I put that information.
And Chris, can I ask you a question about the fiduciary document?
Sure.
And can you hear me okay? Because I hear a lot of feedback.
Yes, I can hear you. Hold on, let me clear the feedback so that we can hear you.
Turn the mic down too.
Okay, so you can just clear up so we can hear you. Yeah, there's a little bit of noise in your background, but it's that's the only place I'm seeing. Go ahead, Empress.
But can you hear me, though?
Yes, I can hear you. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. I would have put it in the document, but I didn't know how to word it so you'll be able to understand it. So I'll just ask the question. So when it comes to the fiduciary affidavit, I know you mentioned before, like if we have kin that, you know, feel like they don't want to take the time to learn about more science and do everything that needs to be done to get their freedom, basically, that we can add them to the fiduciary affidavit if we choose to. In addition,
add their person. Yeah. Their person is they're all caps names.
Okay.
So that they, yeah.
Okay.
Because we have control over all caps, over all caps.
Okay. And then, so my question is, when it comes to, I think at one time you mentioned too, the corporation that we've leaned and done court actions on and everything that needs to be done when it comes to a corporation, they need to be listed on the fiduciary affidavit as well, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so
you're listing them as living corpus sanctum instead of dead corpses. That's the difference in what they were before, as opposed to after meeting the Savior, which is you. You did a lien on the corpse, so that the corpse is dead and at Guantanamo Bay or debtor's prison or decapitated. That's what we do with corpses that are moving around and trying to do things. And then the fiduciary document says, okay, now the United States is a living corporation that we can use to do things, to get benefits on a fiduciary document.
Does the monochrome font need to be different as well when we do that?
It can be however you want it to be. Okay. It can be black, blue, green, orange, yellow, red, purple.
Okay. And so when we hand down our affidavits, including the fiduciary document is not going to have every single corporation and every single all caps name on it. It's just going to be specific to who we're sending that affidavit to, correct?
It can be, yes, it's going to be specific, but you can get everybody else by doing it this way. If you look on the screen, Empress, and I'll just show you really quickly how to make sure that you don't leave anything or anyone out with regard to the fiduciary piece. Mm-hmm. Can you see the fiduciary document on the screen? Let me just make sure that it's there.
Yes, I see it.
You can see it? Okay. So I'm going to scroll down just a little bit to where all of that comes in at. What you can do is, right here where I'm highlighting, I've put all numbers there. 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and all integers in between, all numbers, in all monochromes, styles, and fonts, beyond infinity. So that's going to cover any documents, and I'll put here in any sequence. In any sequence. That means it doesn't matter which order they put them in, we're still the fiduciary of that. And then where letters are concerned, because that's what you were really asking about. We would do it like this. And then we would also, and I would put these in blue, but you're saying all monochromes anyway, so it's covering all of them. Then you would say, There you go. And now you've got all caps and you've got the all lowercase. Okay, and that way, again, it doesn't matter what order they put them in.
The reason why I'm asking is because let's say that I'm doing a demonstration where I'm sending ABC Corporation all of the affidavits that I decide or determine they need to have, including the fiduciary document. I don't think that they need to know who I'm fiduciary of. You know, they don't need to know every single corporation.
Nope,
so
they
that's
don't.
why I was asking.
Just so you know, they already know that you're the fiduciary for all of them. But they don't. But you don't. But for your own purposes, you're sovereign. You don't have to put all of that. You can individualize, because I do that too. I individualize my fiduciary documents according to whoever I'm sending it to. Because all law is specific. Yeah.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All law is specific, and so generally when I'm doing demonstrations, one demonstration is getting 40 plus documents from me each time. Now, not everyone has to do that, but I do it just because of I feel led to do it that way, because I don't want to leave anything out, and I'm asserting all of our everything that has to do with us. So this is what my fiduciary document is going to have, and this way it doesn't matter what numbers or what letters, you're the fiduciary for all of them, regardless. Oh, and you can put and all punctuation. Oh boy, you can put all punctuation since time immemorial. If you just want to be that specific, you know what I mean? So let me make sure. Justice Consul, does that answer your question with regard to the numbers for the fiduciary document? That's how we've done ours. We're doing that now. And then what we did was just add all of the, all of the subjects. We just put all of this on the end of ours because we took the time to go and get all of these, because we know we're the real judge, we're the Postmaster General. These are just custodians in the office of the Federal Reserve. That's a custodian. We're the real Federal Reserve. So we said, okay, let's get our office, the custodian, to go ahead and do this, stamp this, and make sure that the office is knowing what we're doing. And all we're really doing, too, Morris, is setting up the office for our arrival. Because that's us. All we're doing is letting them know we're coming. And that's why I'm saying what I'm saying about, I want to say merging back into, we're merging back into our ancient positions that we invented. We created all of these positions, all these offices. We're the real officers of them. And the fiduciary document makes it so that anything that they were claiming, that courts were claiming about you and saying, oh, you got 3 warrants, talking about their courts, they cannot hold you on any of that because you're the fiduciary and you've leaned all of that and done court actions on all of that and let them take their debt. That's where let the dead bury the dead comes from, and that's where render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's. Caesar's his dead bodies.
Islam.
And takes his dead bodies, and you're the living, and you got your living instruments that you're dealing with, that you're the fiduciary for.
Islam.
Islam.
I have one more thing that you can add to that is in all dialects, because you know, you have the alphabet, you have the punctuation, and then that dialect would fall with the languages as well.
Yes, Islam. Look, we can put that right here. In all dialects, and I always say land gauges because that's really kind of what it is.
I like that.
We gauge the land, and then we move and navigate accordingly by our words.
So I'm so glad you mentioned that, Empress, because I don't know if you've noticed that the whole thing about finding the natural area codes.
Yes.
I've Googled it and even did a Wikipedia search, and because they've been removing those resources from us, and they've gone as far to put on Wikipedia, they've done it because it's considered a something intellectual property, according to them. Ask this, honey.
I found it again though, Empress, and it was a different look. Like the platform was different, but I found it.
Would you mind putting it in the private chat, please? Because I need it, honey.
I'll look for it.
And listen, intellectual property. The Moors did all of that. That's Moorish. And
I know. It's like, how can you take intellectual property and put it as something that was never yours to begin with, honey? When you're talking about math and science, because that's all that really is when it comes to natural area codes, how could you intellectualize that part?
You know, with natural area code, this is crazy. That's a great comment, Empress, because with natural area code, we have this planet mapped out down to the nano inch.
Mm-hmm.
And as you're moving your cursor over the land, it's giving you different coordinates for each inch, each movement you make.
Yes.
We have this whole thing mapped out. Now, you know somebody had to be looking from space to do that.
Right.
And we already know who's up there.
Mm-hmm.
They probably did it from the moon, our ancestors. And we might have done it before we came here. Who knows? I don't know. So, yeah, we have to, we have got to, those who've not done the fiduciary document, please do it as soon as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So that you can, because, and please lean the nom de jure and lean the social, because you're going to need to use your natural person that has a state and is not stateless in order to move to the next thing that we're doing, the next phase of this whole taking of the land. Okay? So, for those, I told about 2 or 3 people that I was going to print merchant cards for them. For those that I said I was going to print merchant cards, I didn't give you a time because the ancestors wouldn't let me say you'll have it in 2 weeks or you'll have it in this time or that time. And now I know why. This next phase that we're moving to, the cards are going to look a little bit different from what we have. So let us work through that piece right there. But you all know how to print up merchant cards for yourselves. You can print them up based on what you've done. Because I'll say this, as we continue to move forward in this manner, the things that have been done where we're concerned in terms of, you know, Moors have been detained, Moors have been through this and that and this and that, you're going to be so glad you went through those things, you know, and you may not see it now, but you will after a while, because that's where those events are where all of the everything is springing from, is knowing how to state the event and bring it into your state, the event, not their paper, but the event itself, and state it properly. So where the merchant cards are concerned, if you will be patient and let me see what the ancestors are doing in terms of, they wanted us to put the information out there because we all need to see where all of this is going. We need to keep an eye on, because all we did was go into the spirit realm, look at the future and say, oh, okay, everybody, we can print 100 million here and 100 million there. And then we looked in the past and they said, this is where it came from. It came from your liens that you did. When we told you to start leaning, that's where that's coming from. So we're just demonstrating, walking through that process. And then we'll, of course, you know, we're going to show you the process that we're doing even further with regard to merchant cards and things like that. I had taken this 2 weeks off to do more with the merchant cards, and the ancestors took me in a completely different direction, but not completely. It's still related. It's just they showed me where we are going to have to manifest some more things in order to continue making that a seamless process. Because we are right in the middle of that whole transition that we've been talking about, which is the greatest transfer of wealth in the history of the earth is happening right now. And that's what we're doing. So that's not something that we can just in one day. It's taking a little bit of time, but it's worth it. And I know you all can see where all of this is going and what we base it on, because we're showing you as we do these demonstrations what that's based on. The laws and precepts and things that it's based on. Okay? So let us keep working. We're going to keep moving forward. I was able to rest some on my break, and somehow the ancestors are saying take another break, but they leave it up to me to decide whether I want to take another break so that I can hear some more about what they're saying. And also I have a demonstration coming up that I am going to take a little bit of time to do that demonstration, and it is coming up in, you know, a short while. So if it's okay with you all, let's plan on meeting not Sunday, but next week on Thursday again. Is that okay with you all, or does anyone have objection to that? And you can just star 6 and uh-oh. Wait a minute, let me make sure we can hear. Just a moment. One more. Okay, I just wanted to make sure that you all could hear me. You can star 6 more if you have any objection to us. Instead of meeting Sunday, let's meet Thursday.
No objections here. Cynthia and Bay.
Islam. You all are awfully quiet.
Islam, Angel Bay, no objections. Though I haven't seen the link for the launch for the natural area code yet from the sister who said she has it.
Islam, Empress Angel. I'm looking for it and I don't see it. I don't use that platform that much because I know the natural area code for the territory that I'm in, and I really don't need it. But I do know that when I initially looked it up, you know, it was the one that everybody knew about, and then it went away. It wasn't available anymore. And then I went back to check, and there was another platform there, and now I don't even see that one. So, yeah.
Okay.
Let me see if I can pull something up and provide a link. Oh, there are a couple of new ones that have popped up. Let's see.
Does the natural area code pop up when you put in your address, your location, and you ask for the natural area code? Is that those latitude, longitude numbers that pop up? Is that your natural area code?
No, not latitude and longitude, Empress. The natural area code is between, I think, 6 and 11 digits, somewhere between there.
Okay.
I see something here. Let's see. There are several new things that have popped up with natural area code. And I do not see, oh, there it is. Yeah, they changed the way it looks.
Yeah, because I get two numbers. I get two numbers, and then I get a little dot up at the top of them, and then it's about 5 or 6 other numbers pops up. But I've been using longitude and latitude, so I guess.
Yeah, latitude and longitude will work just as well.
Okay.
Yeah, it'll work just as well. Now, there was a question in the chat as we move into this next phase. The question is, will we be able to get any job even without experience with full health benefits and top salary pay? No. But think about this, nobility. Anything that you're willing to learn, you can have. You'll have that job. Anything that you're willing to learn. Okay. You have to know going in that, number one, know who you are where nationality is concerned, and that has to be what you put in the forefront first in everything that you do on the job. That's number one. And number two, the only reason that you're there is you don't work for them, you work for your state. You work for your state. They are going to show some things. They're going to remind you of some things and show you how it works, but you work for your state. And you'll be presenting your state at all times. And so that has to be done with nobility. And where jobs are concerned, it's not really a job, it's your court, really. Other things will work as they have been working, where if you have experience doing certain things, you do those things. Now, I will say this about that. The things that we've been putting on the public record and demonstrating tells them what experience we have. So I'll just use I'll use one of our teachers as an example. One of our teachers who teaches us a lot about civics and jurisprudence, because of what our teacher knows, if our teacher were to send affidavits to a place for a, to get control of the resources at that place, they wouldn't even think about saying, well, you have to have gone to Harvard Law School in order to get this. They wouldn't even dream of saying that to our teachers. They wouldn't dream of it because they know he supersedes, or our teachers supersede Harvard Law School. And Harvard Law School is subject to our teachers, So past experience, the things that you've done in the past, that can be used. Those things can be used. For example, I have training as and certification as a contracting officer. Well, the ancestors, before they would allow me to use that training any further, they wanted me to know that I'm not contracting with them, that my contracts are going to be with other nations and other states, moorishe states, okay, not with corpses and corporations that are not presented by us. Okay, so they wouldn't let me get so far with that, and then they said, okay, let's pull her back because she needs to know the other side of the story with regard to contracting. Because I enjoyed contracting previously, but there was so much I didn't know about contracting from this jurisprudence piece. Now that I know who we are and I know that we don't contract with them, I think that might have even had some bearing subliminally on us being some of the first ones we knew of to actually implement termination of all corporate contracts, because I had not seen that when I woke up. I hadn't seen anyone saying, no, we got to terminate all corporate contracts, all of them. And what we put on the screen earlier is now saying why. And we also looked at a USC code the other day that said every contract that is done is fraudulent when it's done in that corporate, in that dead setting. It's a USC code that says something about every contract being fraudulent. So there was so much I did not know. When we were doing the work that we were doing, the contracting work that we were doing, that is just amazing, just amazing. I'm just so glad that the ancestors did things the way they did them so that I would not get into corporate contracts not knowing that that's not what we do. So as we move forward, we're going to be moving forward the same way we are on these calls is what we're doing as we move forward. We're not changing anything about how we demonstrate and how we've been demonstrating throughout this whole, since we've been awake. Are there any other questions or comments or wisdom to share? We can hear you. It's a little bit, there's a little bit of distortion, but we can hear you.
Okay, I have a question about, well, I guess I know I need to probably lean the post office because I have such a hard time getting my mail. They send it out, and I'm thinking it's going to the people, and in a few days it comes back to me. I went to the post office today, and they had a couple of letters they had returned to me, and I was mailing them the way we mail the mail. And the supervisor came out and told me she wanted me to pay to get the mail back. I had been going up there getting it, and I didn't have to pay for it. You know, they was just handing it to. I had to sign for it, but they was giving it back to me.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the letters today, I told her to keep them because I was going to file a complaint against them. So
okay.
That would be right.
So, who are you? I'll ask that question later. I was going to say, who are you going to complain to when you are the Postmaster General? So let me just ask you this about the letters that you sent, about the ones that you sent. Was there a zip code in the upper right corner? Did you use a zip code for where you were sending it from?
I put one there, but I always put it in brackets.
That's why, Empress. That's why. That's usually why, though. When more say they're having problems with the post office, that's why. We don't have zip codes, and in the video, I showed that we don't use a zip code at all.
Okay, so what would I put in the place of the zip code? Anything or nothing?
We have, for example, here I was putting, and I'll just show you on the screen because it's right on the document here. This is what we put on ours. You see this on the screen?
I closed my computer, but I'll get it.
It just says Empire State of Morocco, Moorish National Republic, Federal Government, care of 911, and we put it in ancient English and still got it back. Federal Way, Washington Reservation, and then I put latitude and longitude.
Okay.
Okay, and then underneath that I put the natural area code, but again, latitude and longitude is good enough as well.
Okay.
Okay. So that's how we, that's how we do our documents and stuff when we send our mail out.
Should I also link them? Go ahead and link them too?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay.
So that they will stop putting corporate citizen codes and statutes on you.
Okay.
And trying to get you to use their military script.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah. I will say this about when I when I send the mail out. It's not every single time that I get a green thing back. I don't always get them back. Most of the time I do. Some of the time I do. It just depends on, I guess, what's going on there. I don't always get them back. Or sometimes when I get them back like 3 months after after I sent it. But there's always an update in the system that I pull. I pull the report from the system. I put in the tracking number, and it always says delivered, or somebody came and picked it up, or whatever. And I print that off and put it with the document. So I don't even care about the green thing really. But when it counted, the ancestors made sure the green things came back.
Oh, okay.
Sometimes things like that happen to see if it's just going to wreck our energy and make our day just not go well. I don't worry about a lot of stuff like that because I know that the ancestors will get back to us what we need, and if it doesn't come back, we must not have needed it. But there's ways to check and see. what has happened with the document.
Right.
Yeah, but we don't have zip code. Now, I'll say this, Empress, because our grant sheet has said that the things that we're doing now, 5 years from now, we won't even be doing those things. He's right about that. Let me explain the zip code piece.
Mm-hmm.
When the fiduciary document is on the public record, I can use a zip code if I want to use a zip code.
Okay.
But when I use it, the address would be in blue and the zip code would not be in brackets because, again, we've taken control of that because they hypothecated that too.
Okay.
So just don't put brackets, put it in blue, and make sure your fiduciary document that the post office has a copy of. The custodians in the office of the post office has a copy of it. Of your fiduciary document.
Oh,
that says that you have control over all numbers, all letters, all punctuation, everything.
Okay.
And we don't like I've not had to go in there and speak to any of them in it's been a while, probably over a year that I've not had to go in there and speak to them.
Okay.
Because I deposit our documents in that deposit box, and then the green slips just come back to the mailing location.
Yeah, I get quite a few of the green slips back when they deliver them, but not all the time.
Yeah, that the zip code has to be properly. See, you got to change the status of what you're saying. That's really what you're doing is you have to naturalize the zip code. Everything has to be changed. Yep. Because zip codes, again, there's nothing new under the sun. We came up with all of that. But we have to properly state it. And when I say state, that means have our state issue.
Okay.
Yeah. So, because I used to wonder, how can I send things to other Moors if our documents are international documents? Well, when I send things out, if I was to send something directly to any of you consuls and justices, I would put Moorish National Republic Federal Government or Moorish American Consular Court, Justice, I would put Justice, let's say Justice John Doe. I would put Doe, John in blue, and I would put it as if it were going to a subject. But you're not a subject. That's your person that we're talking about, not you. Your person. Right. And I would send it as if I'm sending it to a person from the government to a person. Because really, think about it. That's all that the custodians that were doing business as IRS, they would send things as if it was coming from the IRS going to Pauline Ritchie, and knowing that it was really Susan Brown from around the way sending something to the people. Okay. You know, they had everything was backwards. It was the dog, the tail wagging the dog and all of that. It was. And now we put all of that back. And everything, that's why I say everything is going to look similar, but we're in control of it because we say we are. And because we demonstrate that we know how to be in control of it.
Okay.
Yeah. Islam. Yeah. I see some things in the chat that I want to ask some questions about. Okay, so these are some good questions. Court action documents be posted. Yes, it will be posted. The question is, will the final judgment court action document be posted? It will. The second question that I see is, if we're going to be getting paid in credit from the jobs, then what is the purpose of creating a delarium? The banks have to be able to issue something. The grocery stores have to be able to issue something. And the real purpose of the delarium was to rebut the fraud and put real Treasury Secretary signatures on things, autographs on things. Because if you look at the fiat, it's got black signatures on it, which is not lawful for us to use. We needed to put the law in place. That's what the delarium is for. Delarium is a further invocation of sovereign jurisdiction. Our sovereign jurisdiction says that we're not using any unlawful anything, that everything we use is lawful. So we had to create delarium. It had to be. And now it's just like that previous system. Think about that previous system. Not only were they having those green military scripts all over the land, they also had a card for everything. Not only did they have cards, they had checks. Not only did they have checks, they had online accounts. Not only did they have online accounts, they had traveler's checks and all of this. They had money orders. They had a million different ways for fiat to be shuffled around on the land. I mean, in the courts, like in the courts world, not on the land, in the courts world. They had a million and one ways for that to happen. So listen, there's nothing that they've done that we can't do better because we created the whole system. So we needed delarium to rebut that fraud first and foremost. Because think about it, Justice Akil. What was the purpose of them creating fiat? That's a better question. What was the purpose? Was it to usurp the estate? What was the purpose? And why were we being shown 50 million videos of sleeping Moors making it rain? Why was it implanted in our minds that we needed to have big wads of fake fraudulent fiat? Why was that created is a better question from my perspective. Your question is a great question. I'm not saying your question is not great, but just think about it. That's a great question to ask. What was the purpose of creating delarium? So that our state of mind and our state of our mental can be readjusted back to what it should be and turned back up on the right side. Knowing that the only reason wads of fiat was running around here was because we were the ones talking about, look, I got a wad of fiat. Or not, in my case. So I didn't have a lot of that stuff flying around everywhere. The psychological operations were real. But we got that. We got that. We got that. We can do that too. Look at what's happening to the quote unquote market since we've introduced delarium. The minds of the Moors is changing. All the delarium did was break the spell that said that we needed to be lusting after fiat, when in reality, the fiat has zero value if we don't use it. If we say no, not that, this, look at what happened. And like we read earlier in this call, in this video conference, and this is this lawful congressional assembly, what did Joseph do? Joseph cleared Canaan and Egypt of all the quote-unquote money. All he did was lean everything and then tell them stop printing that mess. And then what happened after that in that same chapter? He bought up all the land. All of it. Go back and read where Joseph did that. Genesis, the 47th chapter, I believe it was. It'll tell you how this works. And then when you remove all the money, the quote-unquote money, you remove all of that fakeness, the fake fiat. You remove all of that. What happened in that chapter? Those who were previously shuffling that stuff around, they came and said, well, we're hungry, Joseph. And Joseph is another way to say the Moors, because he didn't do that by himself. He did that with the nation. And they said he did it with Pharaoh, who are the ascendants of the great pharaohs of Kemet. We say it in every call. So it was to break the spell. I love that question. I love that question, Justice Akil. I love it. Because we get to talk about how that spell is being broken off of our nation. Justice J says, you said you have not gotten, or that your documents have been returned to you for an account number. How are you mailing your documents? Do you use the process that we did in the video? Because I've never been asked for an account number, and I'll show you why. You must use a different process than the one we did in the video. It's about an 8-minute video that we did on the mailing process.
No, I'm Empress. This is Jay.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, I'm following the instructions. So, you had suggested that we do the addressing, and not put the DV there, and I followed that. But I sent the documents, and it came back to me. I need an account number. I've never seen that response.
Now you said that you. What was it that? Can you repeat what you said and speak up just a little bit, because you were. It sounded like you're far away from your piece, your mouthpiece.
Oh, I'm saying. Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
I'm saying I followed the instructions because we had a conversation about that a few videos back.
Mm-hmm.
You're telling me how to mail, and not to you mail to the office of the custodian, that whole deal. But I had never received. Now I have gotten it back for postage, like the other Empress was saying.
Mm-hmm.
Back for postage, but that was some earlier mailings before I did what you suggested.
Mm-hmm.
And this time I just put the first class sticker that we had, no postage required,
mm-hmm.
and I got it back.
So let me ask you, did you put a zip code coming from you
No, I did not, but on one of them, they put a zip code on there. I didn't put any zip codes on there.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and they circled it, put a zip code on it, and sent it back.
Yeah, we don't care what they write on it because that's for their purposes. Because, you know, I've seen that. I don't care what they write on it as long as it gets where it's going. I don't care what they write on it. When you do the label of mailing it to whoever it is you're mailing it to, what color is the label?
The label itself is white. The label itself is white, and when I sent it to the risk manager before, I had, it had been in black, but you corrected me and told me that I should put the last name first and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
That was done.
Is it in blue when you do it that way?
Yeah, I put their name in blue and put the last name first.
Mm-hmm.
And custodian of the office of. But I had sent something to a correctional facility to Kashif, and he didn't get it, and he came back. We need an account number just written on there.
Yeah. Yeah, so that's what I was saying just a little while ago about if I send something to an individual more, it's going to be different from you sending it to a consul or a justice or a judge or a custodian in the office of.
Well, he's in the House of Correction, so that's where I was sending him.
Yeah.
And I didn't certify that particular piece, so I don't know if that had anything to do with it. I just put the no postage necessary,
Okay, that tells me a lot. That's why I asked for those types of details. So you didn't put the green certified on there?
No, I didn't certify it to him. I had sent him some mail.
That's important. You can't leave those details out. That's important. Because I was just about to tell you why they would ask for an account number.
Well, I thought, but I had sent him some things before, and I did not send it with the certified. I just sent it with the regular no postage due sticker on it, and it went through.
The ancestors will let you do, when we're first demonstrating things, they will let things go through, but then after a while they'll say, okay, you need to come up in what you're doing. We stated that many times before. When we're first demonstrating things, they wink at certain things. That's what the biblioheliotext is. They'll wink at certain things. But then after a while, you can't just stay there. You have to actually come on up and learn the real processes.
So are you saying that I have to send it certified each time to make it work, and that's why they want an account number? Because I have sent it without the certified, like I said before, but this time,
they're not going to let that keep going through because that's not the process that we put on a public record.
So if you send in with the no postage due, you should always also send the certified.
Let me show you why. Yes, the answer is yes, and here's why. Look on the. Can you see on the screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, you see this permit number G10?
Yeah.
That's the account number.
Okay.
Permit number G10. Okay, and G10 is the original 10 nations, and this is when it's in its proper place and naturalized and nationalized. It's the original 10 nations that we all agreed through the Universal Postal Union to do things this way. And so these documents are being issued out of a trust. That's what's taking care of the payment, is the prepayment rather. Is this a trust document? That's what the permit number G10 is. That's why I've never been asked for an account number. Because this right here being on there tells them where to put the prepayment amount that they are doing commercially, where to put it at. That's why these are so important. There it is right there, G10, permit number G10, first class mail, postage and fees paid. It says it right there. You see what I'm saying? Yeah, so that's why we put the process on there like that. And the thing is, let me point something out to you about this a little bit further. You see right here where it says domestic return receipt? Yes. When it says domestic return receipt, but you have brackets on the city and brackets on the office, or whatever the case may be, however we address them, or we don't even have to put really brackets. Domestic return receipt means that it's domestic to whatever is on the back of here, whoever made the prepayment. And so that's why domestic for us is we're speaking to subjects on our land. So we can put these addresses, these mailing locations on here. All that's saying is when we use this process that they're on our land and not the other way around. It's domestic, but they're on our land. That's why we don't need a zip code for us, for the sender with these. This right here, this document alone, just one of these, is their admission that they're on our land and not the other way around. If you got one of these back and you use the mailing location on the other side, and it doesn't even have to look like this, it could just say Federal Way, Washington Reservation, you know, as long as it says care of, you know, then that's open admission that whoever you sent it to is on your land and not the other way around, because it's domestic. And here on this one, they even put right here, Office of the PMG, which is Postmaster General. So they know they're in our office. And they put it in red and stamped it in red and put that in blue. See, they know this stuff. They know this stuff. We taught it to them. Then we went to sleep, and now we're having to come right back up, wake up. When they saw this in blue, when they saw United States Postal Service and then last name first and first name last, they knew. And then to turn it over and see this on the back, they knew that, okay, this is coming from the heirs, our Lord and Savior, the Moors. So, are there any other questions or comments regarding anything, the fiduciary document, the mailing process, anything that we've talked about? Justice Morpheus, you said that you've not gotten them back in over 1.5 years. And are you using the exact process that we put in the video? And then for your mailing location, do you put a zip code or no? Do you put a zip code in brackets or no for your mailing location? Okay. No, do you put a zip code at all? You said no brackets, but do you put a zip code for your mailing location? Okay, good. I don't always get mine back either, but I don't sweat it because I have all the evidence right now that I need to know where we are, and that they know where we are, and they know where they are, and they know who they are. You know, so I don't always need that back, but I do go in and check, and then I pull the and I have many of these where I pull the report, and it shows delivered for all of I pull the report for all the ones that I send out. And then I have my my trustworthy assistant, my daughter, to do a spreadsheet on the tracking numbers and what's been delivered and what's not been delivered, and then I have her do follow-up on it to make sure that it gets out. So as you can see, I have lots and lots of deliveries. They've been delivered. So they deliver all the ones that we send out. We just don't always get the green thing back, and I'm just chalking that up to maybe them not having time to get the stuff, you know, or whatever. And then two more, they are waiting for us to take those offices because those are ours. But we can't come there pretending to be a citizen. We can't come there pretending to be no citizen because that system is not a good system. We have to actually be ourselves. And that's why you see a lot of the stuff going in the direction it's going, because they're like, okay, Morris, you all got the Q. Y'all may not know what that Q is all about. Does anyone know what the Q stands for? Because remember, there was this whole big, quote-unquote, Q movement. Do you know what the Q means? He was basically just saying they're qualified. That means that the heirs are ready. Okay? That's what the Q movement was all about. And they just kept giving hints in there about things that we were doing. Not anything that anybody else was doing, because they don't care what anybody else is doing. It's all about the Moors. That Q is for qualified, just like it is on, for example, if you're qualifying for rifle or M16 or something like that, you know, weapons training, you get a Q on your document in the military. Q means qualified. So, yes, we are qualified and ready to go. Are there any other questions or comments? Islam.
Regulatory Bay and Rosden. I would like to read something from the clock of yesterday, number 2, which confirms everything you said tonight.
Mm-hmm.
All right. It says the key of civilization. Geometry is the universal law of perfection. The science of cultured Moors, which has and always will be in the hands of the kinky-haired Moors of North America. Thus, the Moorish nation of North America, referred to as Negroids, cannot be destroyed. The cycle of global war generated by the Catholic priesthood dictatorship behind closed doors will redeem the Moorish nation of North America during Global War III. The sons and daughters of Cain, white, referred to as Mason and Eastern Stars, are the ones who have protected the Moorish keys of civilization of the North Gate as to prevent the sons and the daughters of Abel, the negative Catholic religious order from ever becoming president and first lady of the land, even though the powers of the sons and daughters of Abel have made the North Gate very dark, owning to organized priesthood religious dictatorship. Nevertheless, the 3rd, 32nd, and the 30 degrees sons and daughters of Cain have held their own for safeguarding the North Gate. As for this act, the sons and the daughters of Cain shall rise in unity with the Moorish nation to never fall again. How about that?
Yes. Ooh. You got. I'm gonna try not to cry behind that one because that's good. Nobility.
That's everything you're talking about.
Yes. I was watching, and I'll just say this briefly, I was watching a video clip from Idi Amin Dada. Remember, Idi, they used to call him Dada, Idi Amin Dada. In Africa, he was a fighter, a general in the movement there. And he spoke specifically to us. He said, you, brown skin at America, you, the ones they call black people, you are supposed to be the president. You are supposed to be the governors. You are supposed to have the offices, not foreigners. And I posted that on my social media page, I believe. I posted it there. But I know I showed it on one of our calls and put a link to it. He was telling us that that's our stuff. All of that is ours. Now, when we first started saying that, we got a little pushback from some who were saying, well, what about the divan, the Moorish divan, you know, the caliphate, the Moorish divan. And I said that is part of it too. The Moorish divan governs from the actual temple where people go to learn civics and jurisprudence. The Moorish divan governs from there, but they don't govern the people, they govern the processes. And then when you're talking about out here in the other part of our temple, because this is the temple too, we're the presidents because there are so many there's diversity on the land. So we're the ones who are supposed to be president and all of that. That is why we put those 40-some documents on the public record. So those who put those 40-something documents on the public record, make sure you overstand them, but make sure you overstand that fiduciary document so that nobody can present you with anything that's supposed to have your quote-unquote name on it that you accept. Don't accept anything from anyone saying anything about, supposedly about you, that you don't rebut. Because you can take the paper, but rebut it with your sovereign affidavit and don't accept their person. Their person is the all caps. They don't let them speak over you like that. That's going to be the key as we move forward. And always speak from your court. Those are the 2 rules right there. Well, there's 3. The 3 rules are, number 1, always be yourself. Number 2, always speak by court action, even when you're verbally speaking to people. Always speak by court action. And number 3, never accept anyone's person. Always. The fiduciary document should be presented like you do your ID. You know how people are always saying ID, 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 ID? Okay, fiduciary document and Moorish ID. And again, you know, nobody has the authority to say you need to show ID. They don't have the authority to say that on our land. That's what the fiduciary document tells them. And that's why we send all of that before we go anywhere. We send our documents ahead of us, just like you would announce any other nobility coming someplace. If the nobility, if you work at a hotel and nobility is coming into the hotel, you're supposed to know that well in advance so that everything can be secured and everything. Everything. When I was working way back, this was probably 30 years ago, I was working at a hotel, one of the major hotel brands, and someone from, he was supposedly a prince from Saudi Arabia, he was doing business as a prince from Saudi Arabia. We knew a month before he got there that he was coming. Okay, they knew because they didn't tell me. But we knew well in advance that he was coming. And on the day before he got there, his security came ahead of him and secured a building, a whole building for him. Because this was one of those places that had different buildings set up all across over the property with rooms. They secured one of the buildings, and the security came in and stayed overnight, and I guess they did a sweep of the place or checked the place out or whatever. And then he came in the next day with his entourage, and they didn't tell me he was coming, so I was looking crazy up there at you know, I don't know, 19, 20 years old, something like that. And when he came in, he didn't really speak. Someone spoke for him. One of his people spoke for him and said, do you have a room for so-and-so? Well, it was 30 people with him. You know, so we're preparing more for that down the road, and preparation for that down the road is can they send their documents ahead of them right now before the entourage comes? Because you know we were running together, we stayed together. If you saw one of us, you saw 30 more Moors. We all came together because resources were not an issue. And we're getting back to that. But we have to be responsible along the way. And that starts with, okay, let's make sure that our documents precede us by court action. You know. So with that being said, are there any other questions or comments or wisdom? Okay. I missed you all so much. And it was only 2 weeks. And I missed you that much. Lots. So with that being said, we will go ahead and adjourn until next week on Thursday. We'll meet back again. Same time, same place. Islam. Peace and grand rising.
Peace and grand rising.
Islam, peace and grand rising.
Islam.
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 Peace and love.
My consort said, welcome back.
Allah for
Islam.
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 peace and love.
Peace and love, Empress. Islam.